the ongoing amendments. President Buhari says women will no longer be deprived of opportunities in the country. Are Ona Kakanfo of Yorubaland urges authorities to allow Sunday Igboho seek proper medical treatment abroad. On the foreign scene, Ukraine's president to address United Kingdom's members of parliament in common. Good evening and welcome to News Round on Impact Africa Television, IATV. I am Toluwalike Ali. The senators urged the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to allow duly registered and eligible prison electorates exercise their franchise in the 2023 general elections. Moving a motion today, Senator Abba Moro called on the electoral body to determine the status of the inmates which are constitutionally and legally qualified to be registered as eligible voters. Senator Moro also expressed concern over the continuous infringement of the voting rights of prison inmates, adding that the Constitution still recognizes them as citizens. He further urged the Commission and relevant agencies to carry out voters' enlightenment in all prisons across the country and educate inmates on their rights and necessity to exercise their franchise in the forthcoming general elections.
But in a ruling on an ex parte application by the Opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP, said the Electoral Act, having become valid law, could not be altered without following the due process of law. Specifically, the court restrained President Muhammadu Buhari, the Attorney General of the Federation, and of course the National Assembly in the suit from removing Section 84, subsection 12 of the Act. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, our governance system, is based on the presidential system of government, where there's clear-cut separation of powers. And I mean separation and exercise of powers. The judiciary, under no circumstance, can stop the legislature, the National Assembly, from performing its legislative duties. We know what our due processes are. So, just like we wouldn't venture into what the judiciary does, the judiciary should understand that we have our processes. If the president rises to the National Assembly to request for an amendment, that is within his competence. And it is for the National Assembly to decide whether it agrees with the request of Mr. President or not. But to say that we cannot consider it is to ask for what is not there to be given.
If there is a court order, no matter how wrong it is, our responsibility as individuals and citizens is to respect it. The argument you have raised is what we are going to raise in response.
In the meantime, Senate President Ahmed Lawan says the injunction of the Federal High Court in Abuja will not stop the National Assembly from amending the Electoral Act. Justice Inyang Ekwo of the Federal High Court had earlier barred the President, the Attorney General of the Federation, and the Senate President from tampering with the newly amended Electoral Act. The court maintained that the Electoral Act, having become a valid law, cannot be altered without following the due process of law. However, in a statement today, Lawan said the law violated the provisions of the 1999 Constitution as amended on separation of powers. The House of Representatives has called for a rescission of votes on 3 gender-related bills that failed to pass in the ongoing amendments to the 1999 Constitution. Speaking as plenary today, a member of the House, Babajimi Benson, noted that culture and religion are the problems of the failed bills. In his remarks, the Speaker of the House, Femi Gbajabiamila, said the 3 bills will be included in the second batch of amendment bills to be considered soon. It will be recalled that the Deputy Chief Whip of the House of Representatives, Nkeruka Onyejiocha, had described the rejection of the bills to promote women political emancipation as a conspiracy from the male lawmakers. She stressed that action amounts to a gang-up and bias which will continue to affect a generation of women in future. According to her, women have lost the opportunity to gain some grounds in the country.
Today, the women parliamentarians are less than number. The same thing with the Senate. So the question is, who is afraid of the Nigerian woman? As you have heard, we women will sing and dance, we will support, we will stay in the sun and rain, but when it comes to the real thing, we are neglected. Yes, we are women. There's nothing wrong in singing and dancing, but we sing to our own songs and dance to our own tunes, not what they want us to do. So today we should all stay united and mobilized as women. It doesn't matter what political party you belong to.
First, the parliament, which is referred to as the men's parliament, and the process being led by the women.
Well, the parliament, of course, like you said, is the men's parliament, and they have shown us that they have absolutely no regards for women. They do not respect women. The women of Nigeria are not seen as citizens. They do not care. And it is time for us as women also to begin to go at them where it will hurt them the most, and that's at the polls. Here we are out here, we are protesting, but it's symbolic, right? But we need to go beyond that. We need to ensure that we are putting women into office.
The message the women are sending to all of you is that you neglect us, you will lose election. From now on, because we, the women, are not just the ones who carry you for 9 months, nurture you, bring you into this world, strengthen you and bring you up and educate you and support you to become human beings. We now support you through your electoral processes. Yes. Stand for you. It is the women who campaign the most for the men. Yes.
Groups across the country have again stormed the premises of the National Assembly today to express displeasure over how lawmakers voted against the gender bills during the Constitution amendment process. In a statement today, the group said they will vote for only women in the 2023 general elections, no matter how small the political party they are in. The protesters further alleged that the male lawmakers do not have their interests at heart. They also vowed to mobilize women in all 774 local government areas across the country to make sure their plans come to fruition.
Today, Nigerian women are angry. Nigerian women are very angry. We are here gathered in front of the National Assembly expressing our anger towards what the legislators, towards what the senators have done to Nigerian women. We are asking for women representation. We are asking for our basic fundamental human rights. Women are part of the citizens of this country. Our constitution needs to acknowledge that. Women, gender equality is not a women's thing, it's a development thing. We want to participate in Nigeria becoming better. We want to contribute our quota to the development of our country. We are not happy the way the country is. Women have potentials. We are asking to be brought to the table, and the legislators are saying no. Nigerian women are not happy. We can no longer sit and fold our hands and watch things fall apart. We have so many countries that are doing better because women and men are brought on the table. Women have a different perspective to development, just like how men do. Men and women complement each other. We're not asking to compete with men. We are just saying, bring us to the table so that we can together move this country forward. And what are we asking for? Just 35%. They still have 65%. What are the men afraid of?
This morning to register our displeasure to the Senate failure to pass the proposed bill 35, if I'm right, that seeks to create special seats for women in the national and the state assemblies.
How do you explain that a Nigerian man can afford indigenship to his foreign wife, but a Nigerian woman can't do the same to her foreign husband? Meanwhile, we have a number of our men who have traveled to the Western countries and their wives afford them citizenship. And then looking away from just politics and governance, let's trickle it down, because the quality of every nation has a direct impact on the personal life and living experience of the individual. If we stifle our women today, what message are we sending to the young girls? What are we telling them? That you don't have free moral agency? That you can't, as a Nigerian, aspire to exercise your franchise to the highest level? Is that the message we want our young girls to take home? And then we keep complaining about the moral decadence.
Speaker of the Nigerian Youth Parliament, Yushawu Azizat, says the core mandate of the newly inaugurated parliament will be centered on youth development, inclusion and gender equality. Speaking today, Azizat said Nigerian youths are building global solutions for the development of the country and should not only be tagged for bad news. Azizat said youths represent over 50% of the entire population and are ready to participate in governance. She commended the Speaker of the House, Femi Gbajabiamila, and the Senate President for the proactive move to evacuate stranded students and Nigerians trapped in Ukraine following the invasion of the country by Russia. She also called on ASU and the federal government to embrace peace and dialogue so as to end the protracted national strike.
This meeting with you, most distinguished custodians of the First Estate of the Realm, is a chance for us to know each other and a call for the media to join us in championing issues of youth empowerment and capacity building. If we must compete and compete effectively in the 21st century, where competition is global and economic transformation are happening at a rapid pace, then we must be allies. I thank my colleagues for the confidence reposed in me and I promise to run an open-door policy to take their input in making decisions for the growth of the Parliament. I was elected on the Youth Mission Agenda, which prioritized the youth inclusion and representation. On our agenda is centered 6 thematic areas, including youth development, youth inclusion, and gender equality.
President Muhammadu Buhari says women will no longer be deprived of opportunities in the country. Speaking today to commemorate this year's occasion of International Women's Day, the president noted that women are not where they should be yet in different spheres of endeavor. Buhari maintained that women have consistently proved that they can hold down their own fronts in all fields. The president disclosed that the occasion is an opportunity to reflect on the vital roles women play in the society, homes, governance, their professionals, and in all spheres of life. He applauded the contributions of women to the current administration as ministers, special advisors, senior special assistants, executive directors, executive secretaries, and many more, noting that they are pulling their weights and making it impossible for anyone to downplay their essence. Buhari also rejoiced with women around whom the tranquility of homes and society revolves, even as they pray to God to grant them peace, joy, and satisfaction. In a related development, the wife of Nasarawa State Governor Silifat Sule has berated the National Assembly for rejecting gender-related bills which are meant to project the interests of women in the country. Celebrating this year's International Women's Day, Sule said the rejection of the bills is an indication that they do not value the contributions of women to the progress of the nation. According to her, if the National Assembly had passed the bills, it would have ended the barriers that millions of women face across the country. She noted that the state government will continue to close the gap between the male and female gender in terms of participation and governance.
The International Women's Day is a day set aside to celebrate women and draw attention to challenges confronting them. In Nigeria,
Women have been challenged not to vote for politicians who refuse to show commitment to improving their health and well-being in 2023. The national president of the Medical Women Association of Nigeria, Leland Otolorin, made the remark today at a press briefing to mark this year's International Women's Day. Anu Akomolafe completes the report.
National Women's Day is a day set aside to celebrate women and draw attention to challenges confronting them. In Nigeria, women still have an uphill task of breaking the bias against them in the area of politics, culture, social and economic areas. In line with this year's theme, Break the Bias, the National President, Medical Women Association of Nigeria, Dr. Lilian Otolorin, urged the National Assembly to revisit the vote on the affirmative action for women representation in the National Assembly.
The Senate voted down this request made by the First Lady and the generality of women folk in Nigeria. Sadly, only 49 legislators out of a total of 109 voted in favor of the bill, falling short of the 73 needed.
She reiterated the association's commitment not to vote for politicians who hold women in contempt, stressing that only those who show commitment to improve the health and well-being of women folk should be supported.
I wish to use this opportunity to appeal to our female colleagues at all levels to be resolute and intentional in supporting only those who show commitment to improve the health and well-being of our women folk.
Dr. Otolorin pointed out that in Nigeria, up to 576 women die from complications of pregnancy and childbirth out of every 100,000 live births, and 95% of the deaths are preventable.
Our women folk have inequitable access to needed services, either because of ignorance or lack of spousal support, because some of them need the permission of their husbands, poverty, and myths and misconceptions. The consequence of these barriers to health-seeking behavior is that our women, they report late, very late in the disease process, thereby making the outcome of treatment less satisfactory.
The theme of this year's event seeks to break the bias against women. Anu Akomolafe, IETV News.
Developments, the president of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Samson Ayokunle, says for Nigeria to make progress, political leaders, especially the president and the 36 state governors, must listen to women directly, not by any proxy. Speaking at an event today in Abuja to commemorate the 2022 International Women's Day, Ayokunle stressed the need for the federal government to heed the demands of women for greater inclusion. He stressed that women are agents of peace and prosperity in the society. Ayokunle urged the National Assembly to embrace the option of inviting women for a fresh parley on ways to address key gender issues and generally disclose a sustainability plan as it concerns gender equality. Following the conditional release of the Yoruba Nation activist Sunday Igboho and the circumstances surrounding his temporary relief, the Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò of Yorubaland, Gani Adams, has urged the government of Benin Republic to allow the activists to seek proper medical treatment abroad. In a statement today, Adams has said the long period of incarceration has taken a huge toll on the health of the activist. The Yoruba leader noted that the release of Igboho is a welcomed development, even as he added that the condition attached to his temporary freedom is not enough. In the meantime, Nigerians have continued to express divergent views following the release of Sunday Igboho. Speaking with Impact News correspondent, experts say his release has generated many controversies, adding that politics is being played in Igboho's case. Taiwo Olariwaju completes the report.
Nigerians have continued to express divergent views following the release of the Yoruba Nation rights activist Sunday Adeyemo, popularly known as Sunday Igboho, from detention by the government of the Federal Republic of Benin. Speaking with Impact News correspondent, a lecturer at the University of Ibadan, Dr. Nicholas, said the issues has generated so many controversy with the circumstances that led to the arrest of Igboho. He further said politics is played in Igboho's case.
The long detention What exactly is it for? Is it that he's being processed to take it to a court, to be tried for offences, or is it just there for a protective custody, as the case may be? And that is the real issue, and that is what I think people who are really interested in the case should be talking about. Why are you keeping him for so long? If there's an offense against him, why not try him in court and let's know what it is? Or if there's no offense in this, is he being kept there for a protective custody so that he will not be tried from the Nigerian government, or what it is? And I think that is the main issue, and that is what the lawyers are supposed to be more focused on, instead of these media plays, coming to the media and bringing up informations, making the case look like a media case, which in another way is not.
On his part, Atunda Adeyemi Rokpo said Sunday Igboho was released based on health grounds, adding that his release does not mean he has no case to answer.
He was released based on health grounds because his head is deteriorating, so he has to be fit and healthy before he answer any. He could be brought to court. So, and normally, since he's been released on health ground, he's still in their custody, he's still in the country. He can't be flown to Nigeria. They will be treated there. Do you understand? And at the same time, like, what I understand about international politics is a citizen of Nigeria, and he must not die in their custody. So based on that, they have to give him bail on earth ground.
Also speaking, a concerned citizen, Adeshola, said his release is a good development.
It's a welcome development, and it's a thing of joy, and it's worth celebration for all the Yoruba race. For quite some time now, he has been in custody of the government of the Republic, and by now should have been having some health challenges. And now that they've released him to take care of his health, is a good thing.
Taiwo Olanrewaju, IETV News.
Away from that, Governor Aminu Tambuwal of Sokoto State has commended the federal government for its efforts in evacuating Nigerians stranded in Ukraine following Russia's invasion. In a statement today, Tambuwal further commended the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyama, for his uncommon determination and patriotism in ensuring the triumph of Nigeria's diplomacy. Tambuwal also commended the non-partisan support of the federal government in tackling insecurity in the state. According to him, the synergy among security agencies in the state is yielding positive effect. He gave the assurance that the state government will not support any form of discrimination in terms of provision of subsidized education, housing and empowerment to the people of the state. In a related development, stakeholders have called on the federal government to provide social services for citizens. This is as they faltered the registration of Nigerians as volunteers in the ongoing move by Ukraine to resist the invasion by Russia. Ayodele Fakeye completes the report.
The ongoing geopolitical strife between Russia and Ukraine has been trailed by several mixed reactions, just as the war has distorted global financial and energy markets. In an escalation of the Russia-Ukraine war, reports have it that some Nigerians are prepared to volunteer to travel to Ukraine to fight the Russian forces. However, they will provide $1,000 for tickets and visas. A development the federal government is opposed to, as it says the country discourages the use of its citizens as mercenaries anywhere in the world. Reacting, some concerned citizens, Aziz Abdurrahman and Akinwale Dapo, while expressing some mixed reactions, said it seems people are looking for an escape route, even if it means fighting in a war that does not concern them.
Your priority, and your priority was like certainty over uncertainty. And there, when you're talking about our place, there's too many certainty over that place, because when you were there, there's value for human being, for human life and your existence and so many other things. And they believe that once they can partake in that war, at the end of the day, government of Ukraine will not let their labor be in vain. So with that, they'll go one way or the other. And we all know Nigerians as well. We know how tricky we are in this nation, in this country, because there are some that even want to use that avenue to travel to the neighboring country by escape. Not all of them want to go and fight, but just that is, it's just the messy situation we find ourselves in this country.
Any war zone, it's a risky venture, and you could lose your life. And I don't want any participant to do that.
Also speaking, a professor of governance and public policy, Professor Remi Ayede, is of the opinion that the move by the federal government is in the right direction, stressing that if Nigerians are concerned about insecurity, they ought to volunteer in the fight against insurgency in the country.
I think if Nigerians are really concerned about security, they should first of all volunteer, to support the fight against security challenges that we face in this country. By organizing and doing all kinds of things. And several times the government has actually asked people, to take steps to support either the police or the military in trying to address the security situation. And it's an interesting development, and I think those Nigerians are either just joking or they just want to run away.
They nevertheless said the time has come for the impact of governance to be felt by all. Governments at all levels must quench the burning out desires of all citizenry.
It's a wake-up call for our government. Our government needs to do more about we human beings, value youth, and put so many things in place to make this country work.
It's not our war. It's an international battle. It's not even in our continent. All of these things are happening in Europe. So what then is the concern in what is happening there?
I think they should be very careful what they desire. There's always this tendency in Nigeria to say anything but staying in this country, or anything, else but this and that. And we have seen what the consequences have led to. People have said, anything, even if we use our mother to do sacrifice, we want money, by all means. This have always ended in sorry tales. I think we should learn to be very focused, very cautious, and very wise.
It will be recalled that there had been tensions between Russia and Ukraine for a long time. However, the situation escalated in early 2021. Ayodele Fakeye, ITV News.
Government has assured Nigerians and the people of Anambra State that the second Niger Bridge will be completed before the end of 2022. The Chief of Staff to the President, Ibrahim Gambari, stated this today when he led other ministers to walk through the 1.6 kilometers from Onitsha to Asaba. The Chief of Staff also noted that the quality of the project will last for decades. Gambari disclosed that the project cost about 340 billion naira and will boost the economy when completed. Also speaking, the Minister of Power and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, said the transmission line will be relocated and power will be shut down for 2 weeks because of obstruction to enable the contractors complete the project. He appealed to Nigerians to bear with the power outage. Senate President Ahmed Lawan has constituted a 7-man conference committee on the sexual harassment of students in tertiary institutions prohibition bill. In a statement today, the lawmaker noted that the bill, sponsored by the Deputy Senate President Ovi Omoagege, aims to checkmate the scourge of sexual harassment of students by randy lecturers within the academia. The committee is expected to liaise with their counterparts in the lower house to harmonize the 2 versions of the bill passed by both chambers. The committee is headed by Senator Michael Okpeyemi Bamidele from Ekiti Central as the chairman. The Federal High Court in Abuja has ordered Ebonyi State Governor David Umahi and his deputy Eric Igwe to vacate their seats as the sitting governor and deputy on the grounds that the PDP won the last concluded governorship election. Delivering judgment in the case, the presiding judge, Justice Inyang Ekwo, ordered the governor and his deputy to vacate the office, adding that their defection is illegal, null and unconstitutional. Justice Ekwo ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to receive the names of candidates from PDP to replace Dave Umahi. The governor and his deputy defected from the PDP on whose platform they were elected into office in 2015 and 2019 general elections to the APC. Justice Ekwo said the depositions are evasive and insufficient to competently challenge the plaintiff's originating process.
All the issues you raised were pertinent, and that of the plaintiff had a own in this type of judgment. Of course, it goes to your issue. We are certainly going to appeal. I want to also talk to you about the issue of the house. 1091 subparagraph G. It said, and that is the provision of the Constitution, that the house, defection is handled in the house. You table it before the speaker. So, there is no evidence that this matter of defection of the House members were ever tabled before the House of Assembly. That is the provision of the Constitution. No court can go against the provision of the Constitution. The Constitution said you table the House a defection before the Speaker, and when the Speaker evaluates it, he brings it to the House, and where it is proved, then the person will be denied of the membership. Is that the case here? We made it dubious that there was no evidence that this matter was tabled before the House. The court thinking of taking the judicial notice of who is the Speaker was not a matter before the court. So the court cannot, without us addressing it, raise the issue of judicial notice of who is the Speaker. That was not the case of the plaintiff. So I think the pedestal is the Constitution. The Constitution didn't make any provision for defection of a governor. And so, trying to read anything outside the Constitution doesn't help the matter.
But the judgment has been able to show that the fact it has the same consequences as the member of the House of Assembly, especially in view of the judgment which was relied on that judgment of the Supreme Court in Wadan Bello, Fameke, and the INEC, we show that votes belong to the political party and not to the candidates. Now, with that, nobody who defects to a minority party can expect to remain. I think this judgment has gone far to say this. Thank you very much. The other parties are
Isaiah Akirami is coming up next with stories from the exciting world of sports.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to the sports segment. Super Falcons head coach Randy Wandrum has been offered a 2-year deal by the Nigerian Football Federation. The 65-year-old, who was appointed as coach by the NFF in May 2020, qualified for another spot at the Women's African Cup of Nations in Morocco later this year, defeating West African rivals Ghana and Ivory Coast in the qualifying series. Nigeria are the only African team to have played in all 8 Women's World Cups since 1991, but they have failed to translate their continental dominance to the world stage. Their best performance at the World Cup was in 1999 when they reached the quarterfinals. Away from that, Scotland World Cup playoff semi-final against Ukraine, scheduled for March 24th, has been postponed. FIFA, World Football's governing body, had a call with the chief executive of the Scotland, Ukraine, Wales and Austrian football associations, where they were verbally told that the game will be moved to June. However, it is yet to be decided if Scotland will now play friendly internationals on March 24th and 29th instead. The playoff semi-final was due to be played at Hampden Park on March 24th, with the winner going on to face Austria or Wales in Cardiff for a place in this year's World Cup in Qatar. But now the clash has been postponed owing to the ongoing invasion of Ukraine by the Russian military. In other news, world number 3 Alexander Zverev faces an 8-week ban from tennis if he repeats the behavior which led to his expulsion from the Mexican Open. In February, the Olympic champion was fined $40,000 and forfeited all his prize money for striking the umpire's chair. Zverev has now been found guilty of a major offense after an ATP review. The German 24-year-old will be banned if he commits another similar offense within 12 months of the incident. As well as the 8-week ban, Zverev has been handed a further suspended $25,000 fine. The biggest penalty in men's tennis to date was a 16-week suspended ban given to Australian Nick Kyrgios in 2019 for verbally abusing a chair umpire and smashing 2 rackets. Zverev has until 11th of March to appeal against the decision. And lastly in sport, Italy's historic Imola circuit has secured a place on the F1 calendar until at least 2025. The track returned to the schedule in 2020 after a 15-year absence as part of F1's attempt to restructure the calendar in the middle of the pandemic. From 1981 to 2006, the track's event was known as the San Marino Grand Prix, but its name changed when it returned to reflect support from the Emilia-Romagna province in which the race is located. Imola's first Grand Prix was in 1980 when it held the Italian Grand Prix in place of Monza, while renovations took place at the race's traditional home. That's all we have for you in the exciting world of sport. I am Isaiah Akirami.
Thank you, Isaiah. On the foreign scene, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky is set to address British politicians via video link later as his country battles Russian invasion. Zelensky's speech will be broadcast to members of the parliament in the Commons using TV screens being installed in the chamber. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister is hosting meetings in London with the leaders of Poland, Hungary, Slovakia and the Czech Republic. The series of meetings will be to discuss the United Kingdom's support for security in Central Europe. Arno Luakwo Omorinde has more stories from the foreign